Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rachel Sampson. I am the Strategic Partnerships Director here at Visual Communications. Thank you for spending your time with us again this afternoon. If you're just joining us, welcome. And if you're coming from the last panel, we hope you enjoyed those dancing credits. So just if for the next few weeks, we hope that you'll join us 2 weeks from now on October 30th for a special presentation by Nielsen's New Inclusion, a special presentation by Nielsen presenting their inclusion analytics product, learn some insights around Asian American inclusion on TV and the new currency by which media will be measured. We'd like to thank our generous sponsors who have supported Visual Communications and to all of our partners who have made the 36th annual LA Asian Pacific Film Festival possible this year. Thank you especially to the Academy of Motion Arts and Pictures, Sony Pictures Entertainment, Comcast NBC Universal, California Arts Council, SAG-AFTRA Producers Industry Advancement and Cooperative Fund, the National Endowment of the Arts, HBO, and Warner Media. And if you didn't already know, VC has launched our VC 50 campaign. Visual Communications is celebrating 50 years this year. If you feel compelled to do so, please donate to vcmedia.org/donate to allow us to continue our artist programs. I'd like to welcome back Asil Borlasa, one of our senior programmers here at the festival. Let's welcome back Asil.
Thank you, Ray. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another C3 Converse. Thanks for hanging with us, like Ray said. You are in for a treat for this conversation with the filmmakers from Momentum. Just to echo Ray's words of gratitude, thank you for everyone that's helped make this festival possible, especially shout out to the shorts programmers that helped sort of pull this together. So I see you, Farouk, my ride or die in crime, for helping lead our team of programmers to bring programs like this to the screen. I just want to share a reminder that if you want to read the closed captions for this conversation, we are dropping a link in the chat now. Click on that and it'll pop open another window. And that will bring you to the transcript of this audio conversation. Again, my name is Isil. I'm coming to you all the way live from the 562, land that was first cared for by the Tongva and Quiche people. And I want to acknowledge and thank them for taking care of this neighborhood before I got here. And now I do want to get into this conversation with Momentum. But first, here are a little bit of my programmer notes. When I put this program together, what I saw was a thread that was about decision makings and sort of like reflecting on life. And the notes that I came up with were, or are, one makes a decision through the strength or force gained by a series of events in their life. Step into the shoes of these characters and discover where their decisions take them. And it's a wonderful program full of laughs and drama. And it's visually dynamic. So let's go ahead, meet these filmmakers. So I'm going to invite the artists to turn on their cameras and their microphones so we can see everyone in gallery mode. And I'll just go ahead and start passing the mic as soon as I see your lovely faces on the screen. Let's start with Parita. Let us know the name of your film and where you're zooming in from.
I'm Parita Tanti. The name of my film is Red Ladies, or Help, My Mom is a Republican. And I am actually in the place that inspired my film, which is my hometown in Walnut, California, San Gabriel Valley, in the exact home I shot the film, coincidentally, which is my parents' house.
Nice. Thanks, Parita. Let's go ahead and pass the mic to Jess X Snow.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, we're just getting to know each other. We're just doing brief introductions. So let us know your name, the name of your film, and where you're zooming in from.
Okay, my name is Jess, and I'm zooming in from Brooklyn, New York, and the name of my film is Safe Among Stars.
Safe Among Stars. Beautiful film. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's pass the mic to Asaveri.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Asaveri. The name of my film is Passage, and I am tuning in from Inglewood.
What's up, Inglewood? Let's pass the mic to Joyce.
Hi, everyone. I'm with Becoming Eddie, and I'm the producer. I'm dialing in from Culver City, California.
Oh, the 405 freeway is strong here. All right, let's pass the mic to Ramel.
Hey everyone, my name is Romel Andaya. I am the director and co-producer of The Final Piece, and I'm zooming in from the 626 Alhambra.
Represent. Let's pass the mic to Shabani.
Hi everyone, my name is Shivani. I am representing There's Something to It. I am in Los Angeles. My co-director is not though, and he's in the chat, so I want to give him a shout out. But I'm happy to be here. So.
What's up, Vank? All right, let's pass the mic to Tiffany.
Hello everyone, I am Tiffany and my film is Hello from Taiwan and I am currently in Glassell Park, Los Angeles.
Thank you, Tiffany. And I know I saw Bobby in the green room. Are you in this room, Bobby? Okay, we're gonna pull a live TV moment and see if Bobby will join us in a second. Bobby is from the film Lorraine's Got a Boogie. But before Bobby joins us, let's go ahead, jump into, oh, there's Bobby. Let's go ahead, get your introduction, Bobby.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, hey, my name's Bobby. I am the director for Lorraine's Got a Boogie, and I am in New York City. Is that what the question was?
East Coasters, nice. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the conversations. I'm gonna start with Becoming Eddie. Becoming Eddie, when we first watched this film, well, let me start with, I'm super old. I'm like VHS old, and seeing, and I've sort of seen films like over the years, and you know, in the late 90s we saw films that were about sort of mom and dad, you don't get it, and it's like, you know, cultural identity, and then like model minority. Now here's Becoming Eddie, who's totally emulating something that's not of model minority, and just it's like LOL, hella laugh out loud. Like how did this script come to be, and what is the inspiration behind it?
Well, let me start with our amazing writer and producer, Ed Lee, because this is really based on his real experience growing up where he wanted to find a way to belong, right? And so, and for him, he emulated in this case, you know, our character is based on Eddie Murphy, but what does it mean to be popular, to be embraced by folks outside of your race, but like across all races, and just be cool? And it was like, for him, it was his idol of being cool. So he really brought that pain and he brought the comedy of it, and he wrote it, you know, he put it down on a script. And then we were just lucky enough to be able to be a part of that team to make that happen. But it's funny because he hails from, you know, that is his childhood in the 80s. That was my childhood in the 80s too. So the fun thing was being the cultural consultants of that time to actually be like, oh no, like that's not 80s. Let me tell you what, go back to our own history and really speak to our real experience and make it, you know, bring the comedy to it.
I'm so glad that you brought up the 80s, because yes, I am of that decade, and it felt then. It didn't feel like a now piece trying to sort of relive it. It felt the kitchen felt like, you know, my immigrant parents like 80s kitchen. So those types of, I'm glad you were consulting on it, because it felt even more rich for me. I'll use that note to transition to another sort of decade period piece. It's Hello from Taiwan. When I first saw, I was like, where did you get all this old ass luggage for this film? Because it really sold the airport. And did you film in an airport? Well, why don't you share a little bit what the film is about, and then people could understand why I'm like tripping on the luggage.
For sure. I totally get it. People need some context. So basically my film is about a young 5-year-old who's witnessing her family, who had just gone through a divorce, being separated, and her 2 older sisters and her father were in Taiwan for the past year. And the film starts off with her mom and her in San Jose reuniting with the rest of her family at the airport, in San Jose airport. So yeah, so there is a lot of luggage, lots of extras, lots of background. We didn't film in an airport. We found like a community center in Carson. Actually, it was really interesting to feel like the 80s airport, because we even thought about shooting at an airport, but you know, most airports are pretty modern and the vintage ones are very expensive. So we just turned this community center into an airport, which was a task, but it was a lot of fun when you think about it. And as for luggage, I mean, gosh, we borrowed from anyone that had vintage luggage, like my mom, for instance, who has like for some reason like an attic full of old luggage, and then my best friend who has a bunch of great looking like the hard case luggage stuff, you know, the one that you like twist, you know, you turn the knob open.
Yeah.
And we also had to color coordinate them because I had a color theme. So that was another added extra thing to think about. And I think our production designer, Shimin, had sourced some from, because it was part of the AFI DWW program, she sourced some from AFI directly because they have like a section where they have like old stuff. And she also probably rented some too.
It really set the tone, like the beginning of the story, the families kind of reuniting, and just sort of like the attention to detail. You really sold me on it. And now that you said Carson, I kind of feel like I know where it might be, and like it makes complete sense. The old luggage and the vibe of the energy, you did a wonderful job in sort of bringing that scene to life.
Thank you.
In terms of, let's move then to another film where I love the sort of attention to detail, and it kind of gets me in my heart. Passage is not a live action film, it's animated, but there's something where like Hello from Taiwan feels like a memory when I watched it, just because of the time and kind of like the feelings of like familiness. Passage literally is sort of like this dreamlike reflection. Can you tell us like the inspiration for this film and why you wanted to tell it?
Yeah, Passage is loosely based on my own immigration experience. I moved to LA from India about a decade ago, and I grew up with these very sort of standard American dream immigrant narratives. And, you know, when I came here, especially after 2016, the idea of what that entails, not just for me, but for a lot of other people that move here for various different reasons, it began to shift. That was also when Me Too was, you know, kind of happening. And I just felt like I needed to process/respond to it. So that's where it all began. But, you know, it wasn't until 2018 when I actually had the resources and time and, you know, sort of a more concrete idea to start, you know, creating the film. And so it is, although it is based on personal experience, it is very much trying to take everything that is similar in, you know, for like most immigrant journeys. And, you know, when you talk about your identity sort of shifting and you being caught between worlds, you feeling, you know, being pulled by like memories, but not quite being able to like assimilate everything that's happening to you. You're constantly running towards this thing and you're not even sure what it is you're running towards anymore. So all of those things, I feel like the acculturation, stress, everything that is common for, you know, immigrants like across the board, I feel like that's something that I wanted to capture. And I wanted it to sort of, I wanted to articulate it in animation through sort of exploring the interiority of the character and not have it be something that's, oh, you know, these are situations that you're going through, but it's sort of an internal landscape, which is why it has this sort of dreamlike quality.
I appreciate the device of like this dreamlike storytelling, because it allows me as the viewer to kind of go back and forth into the character's memory or that character's reflection. And then I also like this sort of like almost playful discovery of like, oh, this is not happening now. And on that note, I'd like to move to Jess's film. Jess's film is such a delicate sort of dance of between time and memory. And one of the things that kind of kept me through the entire dance is just the visuals. Like I was telling in Passage, I'm very drawn to certain colors. The textures and the color and the lighting in your film is gorgeous. Can you tell us a little bit about the film and I guess maybe your inspiration for the visual style of it?
So yeah, the film is like inspired by like just like imagining the kind of media that that I feel like is lacking in terms of like Asian American cinema where like characters who have superpowers, or like characters who like are going through like trauma, whether it's like sexual assault or like intergenerational trauma, the ways that we heal from those things, like I feel like is like a superpower, but that's something that we don't really see in terms of Asian American cinema. So it's a story about a girl who, after surviving sexual assault, she disassociates, and then and that's like a metaphor, and the metaphor in the film is like teleportation, and in the beginning she's like she's unable to control where she teleports to, but then as she heals and comes into her own body and her own journey and identity, she's able to kind of control where she teleports to, and she's able to take her partner with her. And the visual style is like, I have a background in visual art and murals, and like I wanted to make the worlds that she teleports to like have like kind of like this fantastical texture and like filled with plants. And in the beginning she teleports to like this dark plant area, which actually was just like the inside of an apartment with like a plant, and then we just had one light on kind of emanating from her, and then eventually the plants like multiply and she's able to teleport into like into like a forest of leaves. And yeah.
Congratulations. And that blows my mind that you're talking about like the small place that she kind of teleports to. I would have never imagined that was an apartment. And that it's those kind of like attentions to sort of storytelling is not just dialogue on screen all the time, right? It's like it's how the picture is playing, and so these films, they all kind of deliver that strong for me. Let's move to storytelling and visual style, which is totally different. And Lorraine's Got a Boogie, this is 100% 100% brought me into like me flipping through the channel, wishing I was on a dance TV show. That's how old I am. I'm of that era of Lorraine. Bobby, can you tell us a little bit about the film and what the inspiration of the story is?
Sure. Well, first I have to give a mention to the writer and co-star. Her name is Chantal Maurice. This is her story that she came to me, that she wrote, and she specifically wanted to cast our wonderful lead actress, Joanne Batun, Filipina. So she kind of wrote a story that revolved around her, but also, since she wanted to make an homage to Soul Train, back in, I think, the late 70s, there was an Asian American dancer on Soul Train. Her name is Cheryl Song. I believe she's Chinese American, I believe, but in this case, we made her Filipina. And I particularly thought it was a very, very interesting choice, because I used to love Soul Train. I'm probably in your age area as well. I don't know what you are, but I remember Soul Train.
I'm 80 years old. I was a full-on adult when I was watching it.
So yeah, it was a very fun thing that honors the spirit of Cheryl Song, as well as what she represented as a pioneering Asian American who was living in that world of that culture and representing on Soul Train. I think was amazing. And then furthermore, for me personally, to take this on was furthering my goals of really fostering communication and understanding between different cultures of color and marginalized cultures, especially African, Black, and Asian American, and Latino, and everybody else in between. So for me, it was a special time because a lot of my projects tend to cross these intersections of race and culture, especially among I think you call it BIPOC now, or I call it people of color, but that's kind of what I centered upon. And it also was, since it was a period piece that had absolutely no money, I was trying to figure out how to capture the 70s feel. So my biggest visual what's the word I'm looking for, influence was Cooley High. And the irony of that is my mentor is Michael Schultz. He's the director of Cooley High. He's who helped me get into film and television. So
congrats on you had like a whole lot of outfits in there for for no money, and a whole lot of hair in there too.
Yeah, so basically everybody, I mean, this is it's just a community effort from all the wonderful dancers and actors we had. Everybody just brought their own clothes. I mean, everybody did their own makeup, and I just came along and just tried my best to make it work and put my visual eye on it. So it was a teamwork with a very small crew, maybe like 5 people crew.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was really charmed by the sort of chemistry between Loretta and Laureen. And I'm reading that there is a friendship that existed before the production. Is that right?
Yeah, Chantal,
Okay.
the co-star, as well as Joe Wynn are friends. So yeah, they already had a relationship with each other. So yeah.
I mean, just because you could see the friendship in it. I mean, while the story is about her, being accused of not being Filipino enough or trying not to be Filipino, you really see Loretta like stick up for her friend, because that's my girl. It wasn't, while she was sort of advocating for racial solidarity, you knew that she was just riding for her girlfriend at the end. And that's, I think, a credit to that friendship that she wanted to honor in the script. So congratulations on that. Let's move now to a sort of different duo, a mom and daughter duo in Red Ladies. Brita, I'm just gonna say, where the hell did this story come from? Because when I pressed, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be an election film, great. And I watched it, and it begins as a sort of like a mom and you don't get me, and it ends somewhere else. Like, tell the audience what the film is about and what inspired the film.
The film is about Olivia, who comes home and tries to stop her mom from becoming the first Asian American female Republican assemblywoman, but then she's instead blackmailed into being part of her mom's campaigns, which she tries to sabotage actively. And I won't tell you the ending, whether she wins or who wins or whatnot.
So, you said you're filmed in your actual home here.
Yes.
Did any of real life home inspire the script at all?
Yeah. Like I said, it's based on my district and my hometown politics. And our district is one of the top 10 swing districts listed on the New York Times. But mostly what I was trying to go for is I'm very confused by these women, these immigrants in my hometown and in possibly other hometowns that are, red ladies and are running on a platform that, maybe I could understand in another like decade, but right now it's just, I don't understand how you could support, who,
You know who that's in Passage for like, if you see Passage, you see who in a beautiful reclined position. But thank you for that, Parita. And I'm going to circle back around through the group again, but let's go ahead and move to Shivani. So like in Parita, I'm asking how much of real life is in her film. I feel like my real life is in your film, because that whole sort of that question of dating and how much of me and how much of my family culture can be part of this relationship. Those are real conversations. I'm curious, what inspired you and Venk to bring this story?
Yeah, so when Venk and I first sat down to think about what we wanted to create together, this was a topic that I think both of us just felt really passionately about, or these were questions that were arising in our own lives. We also talked about how, in mainstream Hollywood, arranged marriage is something that is like usually the butt of the joke, or it's perceived negatively, or like, especially in our generation, everyone seems to have this like stereotype around it. But we know so many couples in our parents' generation who had arranged marriages that were very successful and they're happy. And so we were like, there's got to be something to it. Like, even in other cultures, like there's a reason why you're drawn to people within your own culture and community. There's just an understanding, and there's things that you don't have to explain. And I think when you date outside the culture, we're not saying that either is right or wrong. It like both have their challenges and both have their strengths. But it was just, these are questions that one explores when they're in that phase of dating and trying to find a life partner and figure out what's really important to them.
Just for a little brief, could you like give a little brief synopsis for the audience for folks who haven't seen
so
the film?
this movie is about two Indian Americans who have just gotten out of relationships, interracial relationships, and they're kind of trying to figure out what they're looking for in a significant other, and they see things within their own community that they're drawn to.
Thank you for bringing this and sharing it with the audience, because I think a lot of our audience at LA Asian are in that dating, not dating, married, not married situation, and I think it speaks to a lot of us.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people who are married too, like these are things that they remember from what they were going through. But
and if you guys haven't seen it, the leads are played by Shivani and Bank, and so that's in my head. I was like, oh, I wonder how much of this is sort of real life. But well, I'm going to talk a little bit about casting in a little bit, but I want to move to Passage. I want to talk about the style of it. And I looked a little bit into Supernova design. I see a sort of, it's the playfulness of shape and sort of gestures and images that you put on the screen. Like, what's your inspiration for how you visually tell a story? And is it really a cat? Because on your thing, it says all things cat on Supernova design. If I was looking at the right.
I'm so sorry,
website.
my internet cut out.
Robot voice. Well, let's bounce away from Passage, and then let's move to Ramel. Can you tell us a little bit about Tala and this kind of strained relation? Well, when I first watched it, Tala's mom kind of like set me off a little bit, because I can relate to that struggle. If you haven't seen the film, Ramel, why don't you tell us a little bit what the film is about? Final piece.
Sure. So the final piece is about mother-daughter, and Tala is leaving for college, and when she's packing, they both discover a long-lost cargo box, which is a balak bayan box. And if you don't know what that is, in the Filipino community, we send goods back to the Philippines for our relatives, so they can enjoy, a little piece of America. And so they discover this 13-year-old box of stuff, and in order for the mother, she wants to connect with her daughter. She tasks her with trying to refill this box, and they go through a little journey of talking about their passions and also the mother's past passion.
For those who haven't yet seen the film is performed, or the dialogue is part Tagalog, which is a language of the Philippines, and in part English. How or what was your sort of process in finding actors? Did they already speak, or did your mom, the mom in the film, already speak Tagalog, or did you specifically have to call out for Panay actresses that knew the language, or did you have to train them?
So I just want to shout out the writer, Jana Matangay. She was the writer for the film. And for me, for the mother, I actually saw Noreen Laney on another film. It was actually a horror film. And just her performance on that film struck me. And I was like, oh, I need to work with her one day. And I just kind of kept her in my back pocket. And then this project came up, and then I presented it to her, and then she was on board, because on the other end, she wanted to work with me. So it was like, win-win situation. For Raylene Factora, who plays Tala, Jana, the writer, actually had her in mind and casted her, and then we did a reading with both of them, and they just kind of hit it off, and we were like, there's our mother and daughter, and then cast, and it was, we got them.
No, the mom, when she like goes off, she says her full name in the garage, Tala Marie Iglesias Reyes. I was like, yes. Oh damn, mom's mad. Mom delivered. I felt it in my throat.
We definitely needed to put that in there, and as I shot it, as she said that, I was getting pissed off.
I know, I felt like someone
Yeah.
was grabbing me on my shoulder,
Yeah.
on my elbow.
Yeah, it was so good.
Let's move to another mom. Now the mom in Red Ladies, moms and Red Ladies that are yelling at their daughters because they're not doing enough. That could be the alternate, like,
though. So
how did you find the mom that's in Red Ladies, and what were you looking for when you're casting a Republican mom?
Awesome. I was nervous to find one because you have to really understand what you're satirizing. And Leah really did, like, first audition, I still wasn't like sure. I didn't tell Leah this, so don't tell Leah this. But like when I had them all in the same room and I had them like improvise a press conference as if Leah was the assemblywoman. Well, she really got it, and she could make really funny points about what we were going for. And I think with all the political jargon and the situation, if you don't understand the irony behind it, you can't really deliver it. And to know where the punchlines are is, it takes like not only a skilled actor in comedy, but an actor who is very aware of like the situation, the politics of what is going on right now and what it means to be an Asian American woman running in the Republican Party right now. So that's how I found Leah, and that's how I casted Leah. It was an internet posting, and what was I was gonna say? Leah, yeah, it's I went back and watched it for the first time in a long time. So Leah's kind of like the villain in the film, right? The mom. But I was watching it and I was just like, wow, she actually did a really good job at I'm not trying to compliment myself. I just haven't watched it in forever, and I was like,
Yes, you did.
Like Leah's the villain, and like nobody is supposed to like her. But I think that is also a skill to play in the way that, hey, nobody likes you, but you're kind of funny still, like when she like is trying to do the ad and she taps her daughter, and then Valerie, who plays Olivia, is just like screaming off on the couch floor. She's trying to finish her campaign speech, but Valerie's like yelling and dying on the floor, and so she's great.
It's a wonderful cast that you put together, and their chemistry is or their tension is entertaining that you see on screen.
Yeah, I had them all in a room because it was my first film and I was very nervous about casting because I realized what a high caliber script I had written, like in terms of like politics and comedy, combining them together is pretty hard. But when I had them all together for the first time, I saw that I had a very dysfunctional family in front of me. It was perfect. I had them improvise like Peach and Olivia come back home at 10 p.m. from Pizza Hut. Like they had gone to Pizza Hut, and that is considered incredibly late in an Asian household. So Ethan catches them, the brother, and then reports it to the mom. And I just had them play out the scene, and it was very funny.
It is successful. And Ethan, I hate him. I hate the brother. But I enjoyed his performance. But let's go back to Passage. We have internet connection. I wanted to talk a little bit about the sort of your visual style I liked I enjoy what I saw in Passage and looking into Supernova design. Is that the studio? Yeah. I see a sort of continuation of playful shape and gesturing. Can you talk about what informs your style? And I had to ask, there's something about a cat on your thing, and I'm just gonna ask about cat.
So yeah, Supernova, just to give you quick little context, is named after my cat Nova. And she sort of became like the mascot for our company. And then, we would just sort of make cat jokes and cat things just when we need to like blow off steam from like more serious projects. But yeah, in terms of Passage, I think like the form language, the more graphic sort of style that you're talking about comes from my background and in graphic design and my sister's background in graphic design. My sister Shivalini is also my creative partner at Supernova, and she art directed the film as well. So, you know, we kind of worked together to create this style, and around, I think, a year prior to Passage, we were doing a lot of comic books and zines, and we were really like exploring the independent publishing space. And Passage actually started out as a comic, so that sort of led us to making, you know, the textural quality of like print media and the, you know, sort of like immediacy and hand-drawnness of like zines that we create as part of the aesthetic for Passage. So it was equal parts our sort of aesthetic coming from a graphic design background mixed in with the sort of stuff we were creating in the independent publishing space. So that's kind of what informed the visual language, and you know, that's the style that we sort of arrived on.
I love the sort of, I don't, juxtaposition may not be the right word, but just combining the sort of gravitas of a politically driven story with a fun, playful sort of visual in your film, and also with Red Ladies, heavy political content, but fun, lighthearted comedy dialogue, I think makes political content land appropriate. Yeah. It makes it stick on your chest. Let's go to a political comedian. Let's go to Eddie. In Becoming Eddie, so you're the actor, Josiah. I can't imagine he maybe has immediate reference of what Ed Lee's inspiration was for his comic icon. How did you guys prepare him for this bravado-ness that you don't often see, like in boys, in young boys who are in your school, middle school?
Well, I'll say this for Josiah. Josiah is particularly talented, and he has an incredible amount of charisma, right? And he is whip smart. And so, you know, Leland, in our director, Leland Bowden, in working with him, was just really smart about how she worked with him just from his center and his truth. And then taking that and then applying that across, like, you know, because that universal experience, regardless of period that we're in, right, is the same in terms of wanting to belong or feeling like the pain, you know. So I think she started from there, and then we just exposed him, you know, like that's a wig, you know, with the bowl cut, right, that we've all experienced in our lives, right, either ourselves or our family members. You've seen a lot of in the 80s, but kind of starting him from that truth. And then, you know, the thing is, right, we had no liberty with the language because it's all pre-recorded, right? We had another comedian, David Michael Brown, who pre-recorded the stand-up. And then Josiah, because he's himself a musician, so he was able, it was very musical in a way to like pick up like, okay, this is the rhythm and this is the language, and I have to be spot on with the timing. And so all those things, I mean, Josiah is particularly talented, I feel like, in this way, but to kind of combine all those different talents he has, plus his real truth, to get to that experience and that performance was just remarkable. Yeah, I mean, even when we gave him like the headphones, he's like, what is this? We're like, it's a Walkman. He's like, I don't know what this does. Like, to literally have to turn on, like, this is what it does, and walk him through that and like explain to him, this is how we experienced it in our youth. And for him to go, oh, okay. And then, you know, so it was just fun watching him relive our youth in that way.
Yeah, I imagine that sort of, sharing. These are things of when I was at your age. Please enjoy these ancient artifacts. I imagine that's like a fun vibe on set.
Well, even just like the kimchi, right? Like that was real kimchi, right? So that when we shot that kitchen scene, the kimchi, he had never actually smelled it. Like he'd never had it before. He's actually a Filipino, right? So he's like, what is this? And, you know, opening up and it legitimately smelled up the entire house that we shot in. And everybody's like, whoa, that's real kimchi. Like between takes, like open the windows, right? But, you know, for him, that experience of like, ew, right? That was real. Like that was all real.
Yeah, it's very Asian in America. If you're trying to like understand what white bread and bring those sandwiches to school and not bring rice and eggs, I totally get that. Let's move to Tiffany. So we're talking about Leland working with her kid talent. Like, how did you prepare Christie's the character? The name of the actress is Brenda Lynn. How do you prepare her and her sisters for this? This is like a kind of a quiet, dramatic film.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, at first it was all about the casting for sure. I mean, I chose Brandolyn because she could act, you know, and she was only 7 years old portraying a 5-year-old. So she actually had to act a little bit younger than what she really was, which I think she pulled off so well because she just has it, you know. And I recognized her talent immediately, and I knew that she could just do it if I just trusted her. And she, like, you know, let me guide her, and was such a pleasure to work with. In terms of like getting along with the other two, I actually prepared like a rehearsal dinner between the three of them, and kind of more of a casual hangout, because I wanted them just to get familiar with each other, not just like get into it and start acting. You know, I didn't want them to like read lines or anything. And like literally, Brandolyn's mom, Linda, hosted a dinner for us and in her backyard, and within 5 minutes they all got along so well. And I think that was definitely a big part of how smooth everything went, because, you know, when you're working with child actors, you have very limited time, like, you know, very little time on set, and they happen to be in like the majority of the scene. So and especially for Brandolyn, she was the youngest and she had the most limited time, and she was in every single scene. So it was definitely helpful to have them all get along and just want to be present on set, which I think was such a gift. And the fact that they all just got, like, they were just so happy to be around each other that they just loved hanging out on set. And I think a lot of times when you're working with child actors, I think that really shows, you know, how successful your shoot is going to be if your child actors are going to be getting along, happy to be on set, not complaining, don't need their, you know, their mom or dad there like 24/7. They just connected, and I think that really helped them get into the role of being sisters.
No, congratulations, and I hope to see more from Brandolyn because she's a little treasure on screen.
Yeah, she is. She's doing very well. She's going to be somewhere soon.
Let's move to Jess's film. What I was additionally taken with was how the richness of each scene. You were in a field, we're in the imaginary inside her safe place that I'm identifying. It almost leads that it could be developed into a longer story. Can you first talk about, I guess, preparing your actors? Because a lot of the emotion that I see on screen is not necessarily verbally communicated. I love the sort of tender moments between daughter and mom that are unspoken. How did you prepare your actors for that?
Yeah, so the actor I work with, her name is Poppy Liu. She's one of my really good friends, and I think she just like kind of knew the experience that I was writing about, and I told her that this character is very introverted and really shy and kind of has lost a little bit of her ability to speak after what happened. And the whole film, her journey of healing throughout the whole film is just finding the strength to be able to tell somebody like what happened to her. So a lot of it had to be communicated non-verbally, but we weren't able to find a mom who could speak fluent Mandarin in the very short time period that I had to cast this film. So we ended up flying out her real mom to be in the film. So like they had that like really strong unspoken connection, and it was the first time the mom acted like on camera. And I think
Are you kidding me? That's her mom in the kitchen?
Yeah, that's her real mom. So
you're killing me.
And then yes, and then it was also really hard for me to figure out who to cast like the queer lover character, because it was like a school project and they didn't give us a lot of time, but I wanted them to communicate sometimes through like gestures. Like for example, when Gia, the main character, disappears, her partner can kind of like know that she's gone and bring her back through going like this. So they kind of both go like this through the same time. And I just like wanted a lot of like silence in this film, and a lot of it to be just kind of like her character is defined by what people say about her, and like what what happens to her, as opposed to what she does until she finally is able to kind of find her agency at the end. So yeah,
it's beautifully done, and my heart is like breaking and put back together just knowing the mom telling her to bring the rice to the table, and that's their sort of interaction at the same. Congratulations. I am curious, are there any plans to sort of continue the story, because you kind of end on the I want to tell you mom?
Yeah. Well, I do have another narrative short coming out. I'll probably submit it to, I'm submitting it to the festival circuit now, but that short is a different story, similar character, but I am working on my first feature right now, and Poppy is actually going to star in it, and she's actually helping me with writing in it. And it's a similar character, but just a different situation. It's, but I guess in my mind, they are the same. It is the same character, but it's just like she's older and she's returning to China for the first time in 15 years to visit her extended family. And at that point she's non-binary, and the extended family kind of just like pressures her to like exist as like this like really binary expectation of what a woman should be, and then she just kind of has a bad time, and then ends up having this one day long romance in China, and that's kind of what the feature is about. And I'm really excited for it, but and I think it kind of builds off of this work. Yeah.
Thank you, Jess. It looks like we're approaching the hour, so I do want to make sure that to invite our audiences to sort of know what's happening next for you all. Ramel, tell us what's next for Final Piece and what's next for you in terms of projects. I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah, so for Final Piece, we actually made it for the HBO APA Visionaries competition. And so we had kind of had to hold off for the year to submit it to film festivals. And of course, LA Asian Pacific Film Festival was our first. So we're gonna shop it around to the other film festivals. And then for future projects, gonna be working on a original series for web-based, and then hopefully do my first feature.
All right, Ramel, first feature.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Bobby. What's next for the film and next for you? You're busy as well.
Yeah, so Lorraine is still doing the festival circuit. Chantal, the writer and creator, I think she's looking at places to distribute it. But for me personally, I just finished the Disney directing program. So right now I'm doing a lot of interviews for possible gigs for television directing, and hopefully after COVID, that will happen. But besides that, I'm developing a feature film, first feature film called Soulful Sam. It is an Asian American film, loosely based on my life, about a young Asian American, 12 years old, who moves down south and joins a gospel choir, a Black gospel choir. So it's like a coming of age immigrant father-son relationship story with a lot of intersection of race and politics, with like police brutality, Black Lives Matter backstory. So I'm pretty excited about that. Also developing a horror story feature film that I'm talking to some production companies about developing right now. That also features an Asian American female lead, because I haven't really seen many American films with an Asian American female lead in a horror type film. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's kind of like a multicultural Get Out type film with Asian lead. So that's what I'm doing. I'm also developing a series based on my first short proof of concept that I created called Mars. I'm trying to develop that into a series, and I'm also helping a whole bunch of other people developing and pitching their series. That's wonderful.
That's what it's about, helping each other get through the door, yeah, right? I love it.
Definitely.
Let's move to Shivani. What's next for you, and for Venk, if you could speak to that, and what's next for the film?
Yeah, so as far as the film goes, I think both of us kind of had a conversation that like we've kind of outgrown it. It's like had a good circuit. It's premiered here and it's lived here, and we love having it here. We might look at distribution for it, but I think it's going to live as a short, and it's going to stay here. Venk is right now doing all kinds of amazing things. He's getting his MBA and MFA, and just like making us all look like we're not doing shit. He also has a feature right now that he's been working on for a while, and a couple other shorts. I am working on producing a horror with a friend of mine that has funding right now. We're looking for scripts for that. And then under my production company umbrella, I am looking for scripts to option for features. So that has been a process and a journey, and I haven't found the right one yet, but we'll see what happens.
This lineup, you guys are so busy. Let's move to, thank you, Shivani. Let's move to Tiffany. What's next for the film and for you?
Yeah, so for Hello from Taiwan, I actually have developed that into a series, which I will probably be pitching relatively soon, which I'm very excited about. And then I'm working on writing a couple of features. One is more of a psychedelic 70s feminist film, and the other one is a horror film, also with Asian American female lead. So I think we're all in the same vein, which is really great.
It'd be nice if we reconnect and it was like the same production cast on this super mega horror, violently bloody film.
Yeah, I would love it.
Thank you, Tiffany. Let's move to Asabri.
Passage has been sort of doing the festival circuit for a while, so we decided to turn it into a comic book, which was fun. And I also recently finished this short called, this is Mirror Video New Normal, and that's gonna be doing the festival circuit fully. And other than that, I have a feature script that I've been working on. I have a couple of short stories that I hope to either turn into animated shorts or possibly VR pieces. I'm looking to experiment more with like augmented reality. Like the New Normal was actually an augmented reality short film. And then I am working with a friend on a pitch for a series, and looking to make more stuff with more people and help other people make their stuff. Exciting things are in the works, I hope.
I'd love to hear it. Prita, what's next for you?
I recently, well, no, it was in March, but it sounds recent because this time warp we're in. I shot my film in March. It's a queer mumblecore film. It's in post, sort of. And our last shot, I called wrap, and the city shut down 12 hours later. So very grateful, very, very, very grateful. And I am planning for my thesis, which will be shot in Thailand. Yes, that's what's going on, and I'm writing the script for that, which is due to my teacher very soon. That's what's up, 3 films at a time.
You can do it. We believe in you. Jess, just any final sort of where we can catch you next?
So I'm currently finishing post-production for my next short, Little Sky, and you can follow its journey at littlesky.film on Instagram. And I'm also, I have my second children's book coming out, and it's basically about a girl and her mom, like a 5-year-old girl and her mom going on a plane back to their homeland for the first time, and she's really scared. And then her mom teaches her that her ancestors are all like immigrants, and they have wings, and they come from a lineage of birds. And then she becomes a bird and learns that the sky will always be her home, even if, and she can bring her home anywhere she goes. So it's kind of like a diasporic magical realist children's book. And then the feature film that I just told you about, which is the love story set in China. And I think I'm just trying to figure out, like, in terms of my work, there's a lot of like magical realism, but the feature that I'm working on right now, it's like super realistic, I guess. So I'm seeing like if there is a way, I guess, to be able to do both. But I think maybe there is some value in learning how to do different genres of things, and not everything has to be fantastical. So I don't know. Yeah.
No, I mean, there is definitely value in sort of exploring avenues that you haven't sort of told. And so, and I totally look forward to the realistic chess films, and also the magical realism chess films, which I love as well. Let's move to Joyce. What's next for you and maybe the film team and the film?
Well, so Becoming Eddie has been picked up by Sony Pictures Television to be adapted into a half-hour comedy. So we'll have obviously an Asian American leading comedy, yay. And then in terms of the rest of the team and for me, so Leland has really been leading into the directing. So she has been directing toy commercials because she works so well with kids, but she's also doing a new YouTube web series as well. So she's directing episodes for that. Ed he's working on another TV comedy that he's pitching around town. And he also teaches at Emerson College. So he's a professor at Emerson. So he's a little bit busy. And then, yeah, so we're all very busy. And then for me, I kind of work across the BIPOC spectrum. So I have a Latinx feature that is a high concept, speaking of magical realism, elements of magical realism, multi-perspective piece that actually deals with the issues of undocumented immigrants and human trafficking. But it's really like a thriller piece. And then I have a documentary about women's reproductive rights because I work across different spaces. And that's a feature documentary based on a seminal book from second wave feminism. And then that's just a couple of things. I have other things in my slate. They're still being developed, but I have a number of other features as well. But those are the fun ones that I like to talk about.
The fun ones, about seminal, like female reproductive. That's fun.
Yeah, and human trafficking, because
human trafficking.
Fun.
I love the sort of diverse sort of talents that we have on this group, and I look forward to more projects from all of you. But I'm over time, but so I thank you again for sharing your works with us. If you're out in the audience, you haven't seen these films yet, be sure to check it out. The shorts program is called Momentum. It'll be on our watch site until the end of the month through the 31st. If you like this conversation and any of the conversations here at C3 Converse, please consider making a donation to Visual Communications. Your support helps keep the squad going all year round. Be sure to stick around for the next conversation. It's my fellow programmer and friend Kirby. He'll be sitting down with the filmmakers from I Want You to Know. And for more schedule updates and maybe more additional programming, check out or keep an eye on the website, festival.bcmedia.org, and follow us on social media and use the hashtag, because the kids use the hashtag LAAPFF 2020. Thank you to all of our filmmakers and thank you to our audience. Bye.